I stared at my belongings scattered across the front lawn, the morning dew soaking into my books, clothes, and photo albums. My stepfather, Marcus, stood on the porch with his arms crossed, looking smug in his expensive suit. "Your mother's been gone for 6 months," he announced. "Time for you to move on, Emma. This is my house now." My name is Emma Sullivan, and at 26, I was watching the man my mother married 3 years ago trying to throw me out of my childhood home. The home my mother had spent 20 years paying off while raising me alone. "You can't do this, Marcus," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom wouldn't want. What your mother wanted doesn't matter anymore," he cut me off. "The deed's in my name now. I've got plans for this place, and they don't include you living here rent-free." I bent down to pick up a sodden photo album, my heart aching as I saw water damage on pictures of Mom and me at my college graduation. Marcus had thrown everything out carelessly, not bothering to protect any of it from the morning moisture. "I have until the end of the month," I said. "That's what you agreed to at the funeral." He laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet morning air. "Plans change. I've got contractors coming tomorrow to start renovations. You need to be gone by tonight." I looked up at the house, at the window of my childhood bedroom, where Mom used to wave goodbye every morning as I left for school. The rose bushes she lovingly tended still bloomed beneath it, seemingly oblivious to how much had changed. "At least let me pack properly," I pleaded. "Some of these things are irreplaceable." "Should have thought of that when I told you last week to start moving," he replied. "Not my fault you didn't take me seriously." But he hadn't told me anything last week. I'd been at work, putting in extra hours at the architectural firm where I'd recently been promoted, the promotion Mom never got to see. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Sandra, Mom's best friend, responding to my panicked text from earlier. "Stay calm," her message read. "Remember what your mother told you before she passed. Check your email. Sent you something important." I remembered Mom's last days in the hospital, how she'd insisted on speaking to me alone despite Marcus's protests. She'd been so weak, but her eyes were clear and focused. "Emma, sweetheart," she'd whispered. "There are papers. Sandra has copies. Don't tell Marcus. Promise me you'll talk to Sandra if anything happens." I promised, confused but trusting her judgment. Then she'd slipped away 2 days later, leaving me alone with a stepfather who quickly shown his true colors. "You have 1 hour to get what you can carry," Marcus announced, checking his expensive watch. "Anything left goes in the dumpster I'm having delivered." I walked to my car, hands shaking as I opened my laptop. There in my inbox was Sandra's email, sent 10 minutes ago. Attached were scanned documents, legal papers I'd never seen before. My eyes widened as I read. Mom hadn't been as naive as Marcus assumed. She'd set up a living trust 2 years ago, long before her diagnosis. The house, her savings, everything had been quietly transferred into it. And I was the sole beneficiary. Marcus's name wasn't on anything. The papers he was so confident about, they meant nothing. I printed the documents at my car's mobile printer, a work expense that was proving invaluable. As the pages came out, I called the police non-emergency line. "Yes, I'd like to report an illegal eviction," I said, loud enough for Marcus to hear from the porch. "My stepfather is throwing my belongings out and trying to force me from my property." Marcus's smug expression faltered slightly. "Your property?" he scoffed. "I have the deed right here. Your mother signed everything over to me before she died." I walked back toward the house, documents in hand. "No, Marcus. Mom signed everything over to a trust. For me, 2 years ago." I held up the papers. "You never bothered to check the property records, did you? Too busy planning your renovations?" His face went from confident to confused to pale in seconds. "You're lying," he stammered. "Helen would never." "Mom knew exactly what she was doing," I said, my voice stronger now. "And so do I. The police are on their way. I suggest you start bringing my belongings back inside before they arrive." The sound of approaching sirens cut through the morning air. Marcus's facade cracked completely as he realized his carefully laid plans were falling apart. Mom had protected me one last time, and now it was my turn to protect everything she'd worked for. 2 police officers arrived within minutes. Marcus immediately switched to his charming persona, the same one that had fooled my mother initially. "Officers, this is the family misunderstanding," he said smoothly. "My stepdaughter is having trouble accepting changes after her mother's passing." I silently handed them the trust documents along with photos I'd taken of my scattered belongings. The older officer reviewed them while his partner spoke with Marcus. "Sir," the officer said finally, According to these legal documents, you have no authority to evict Ms. Sullivan. This property belongs to her through a living trust. Marcus's charm evaporated. That's impossible. I have papers. He stormed inside, returning with a folder. Look, Helen signed the house over to me. The officer compared the documents. Sir, your paperwork is dated after the trust was established. Once the property was in the trust, your wife couldn't legally transfer it to you. These documents aren't valid. I watched Marcus's face contort with rage. This is ridiculous. I was her husband. For 3 years, I said quietly. She was my mother for 26. While the officers supervised, I began collecting my belongings from the lawn. Sandra arrived, rushing to help me gather the water-damaged photos and books. Your mother was so clever, she whispered as we worked. She knew exactly what Marcus was after. That's why she made me promise to keep copies of everything. Marcus paced the porch, frantically calling someone on his phone. I could hear snippets of his conversation. What do you mean it's legitimate? No. I need you to find a way around it. There must be something. The officers approached him. Sir, you need to assist in returning Ms. Sullivan's belongings inside. Then we can discuss your timeline for vacating the property. Vacating? Marcus sputtered. I live here. Actually, I said, holding up another document. The trust is clear about that too. Any secondary residents need my explicit permission to stay. Permission I'm not giving you. Sandra squeezed my hand supportively as Marcus's face turned an alarming shade of red. You ungrateful little. He took a step toward me, but the officers moved between us. Sir, we suggest you calm down, one warned. Unless you'd like to discuss this at the station. Under police supervision, Marcus begrudgingly helped bring my belongings back inside. Every trip up the stairs was punctuated by muttered threats and promises of legal action. I ignored him, focusing instead on assessing the damage to Mom's photos. I'll help you restore these, Sandra offered, carefully separating stuck pages in a photo album. I have copies of most of them anyway. Marcus overheard this and glared at Sandra. You knew about this all along, didn't you? You helped Helen deceive me. Helen protected her daughter from a man who showed his true colors the moment she passed away. Sandra replied calmly. I'd say she made the right choice. Once everything was back inside, the officers gave Marcus 1 hour to pack his essential belongings. They would return later to supervise him removing the rest of his things. As Marcus stormed around upstairs, slamming drawers and cursing, I sat in Mom's favorite armchair, running my fingers over its worn fabric. The chair he wanted to throw away because it didn't match his vision for renovations. Sandra brought me tea in Mom's old flowered mug. You know this isn't over, right? He'll try to fight it. I nodded, taking a sip. Let him try. Mom made sure everything was legally airtight. She told me once that marrying Marcus was her mistake, but she wouldn't let it become my burden. She was always protective of you. Sandra smiled. Even at the end, her main concern was making sure you'd be okay. Marcus appeared with 2 suitcases, his perfect appearance now disheveled. This is just temporary, he announced. My lawyer will be in touch. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I met his gaze steadily. No, Marcus, you had no idea who you were dealing with. Mom wasn't just some naive widow you could manipulate. And I'm not just some inconvenient stepdaughter you can throw away. He stormed out, the door slamming behind him. Through the window, I watched him load his luxury car, the one he bought using Mom's insurance money. Good riddance, Sandra muttered. I held Mom's mug tighter, feeling tears finally start to fall. I miss her so much. Sandra hugged me. She's still protecting you, sweetheart. And now it's your turn to protect everything she built. The sound of Marcus's car fading away felt like the end of a nightmare. But I knew Sandra was right. This wasn't over yet. At least now I was fighting from a position of strength, backed by Mom's love and foresight. I took another sip of tea, already planning my next steps. Marcus wanted a fight? Fine. He was about to learn what happened when you underestimated both mother and daughter. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Marcus and his lawyer in a mediation room. He filed a lawsuit, claiming Mom had been unduly influenced when she created the trust. My client was Helen Sullivan's husband, his lawyer argued. She clearly intended for him to inherit her estate. This trust was created without his knowledge, which suggests coercion. My lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia whom Mom had actually recommended in one of her final notes, smiled thinly. We have video documentation of Mrs. Sullivan creating this trust. fully explaining her reasons and demonstrating her mental clarity. She placed a laptop on the table and played the video. Mom appeared on screen, looking healthy and determined. This was before her diagnosis. I'm recording this to explain my decisions regarding my estate. Mom's voice filled the room. I'm creating this trust for my daughter, Emma, after observing my husband, Marcus's behavior regarding our finances. Marcus shifted uncomfortably as Mom detailed his attempts to access her accounts, his questions about property values, and his suggestions that she simplify her assets by putting everything in his name. While I hope I'm wrong about his intentions, Mom continued, I've worked too hard building this legacy for my daughter to risk it being diverted or sold for quick profit. The video continued, showing Mom reviewing and signing each document with her lawyer present. Marcus's face grew increasingly pale. We also have documentation, Patricia added, of Mr. Thompson's recent attempts to secure loans against the property, loans he had no authority to pursue but attempted anyway. Marcus's lawyer looked uncomfortable. My client was unaware. We have more? I interrupted, pulling out a folder. Bank statements showing transfers from Mom's account to yours while she was in the hospital. Care to explain those, Marcus? He exploded, mask finally cracking completely. She was my wife. Everything she had should have been mine. You're nothing but a spoiled brat who... I think we're done here, Patricia cut in smoothly. Unless your client would like to explain these financial discrepancies to the fraud division? The mediation ended quickly after that. Outside the room, Marcus grabbed my arm. You bitch, he hissed. You have no idea what you're doing. That house needs repairs, taxes, maintenance. You'll be begging for help soon enough. I pulled away. Actually, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm an architect, remember? Mom made sure I understood everything about maintaining our home, just like she made sure I understood exactly what kind of man you are. Sandra was waiting in the lobby. She'd become a constant support over the past weeks, helping me sort through Mom's belongings and sharing stories I'd never heard. How did it go? She asked, eyeing Marcus as he stormed past. Exactly like Mom thought it would, I replied. She knew he'd try to fight, so she left evidence of everything. That evening, I sat in the garden Mom had loved so much. The roses were blooming, their scent filling the air as the sun set. I'd found her garden journal earlier, filled with notes about each plant and memories of us planting them together. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. This isn't over, you'll regret this. I blocked his number without responding, let him threaten. The house was secure, the trust solid, and his true nature exposed. Sandra joined me, carrying 2 glasses of Mom's favorite wine. Found these in her special cabinet, she said. She was saving them for a celebration. She planned everything so carefully, I mused, taking a glass. Sometimes I wonder if she knew, about her illness, before she married him. Sandra shook her head. She didn't. But she knew men like Marcus. Your father was similar, charming until he got what he wanted. She made sure history wouldn't repeat itself. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the garden in golden light. Inside, Mom's beloved home stood strong and secure, every corner filled with memories no one could take away. To Helen, Sandra raised her glass. The smartest woman I knew. To Mom, I echoed. Who taught me that real love protects, it doesn't take. Later, as I got ready for bed, I found a note tucked in Mom's journal that I hadn't noticed before. Emma, my darling girl, if you're reading this, you've probably had to use the trust documents. I'm sorry if that means I'm not there to help you fight. But remember, our home isn't just walls and floors. It's every lesson we learned together, every dream we shared, every moment of strength we gave each other. No one can take that away. Stand your ground, my brave girl. You are stronger than anyone knows. Love, Mom. I placed the note carefully in my memory box, next to the key to our front door. Marcus might have thought this battle was about property, but he never understood what Mom had really left me, not just a house, but a foundation of love, strength, and the wisdom to protect what matters. The house stood quiet and secure around me, every creaking floorboard and familiar shadow a reminder that I was exactly where I belonged. Mom made sure of that.